The day had been long, the kind that leaves a man's shoulders heavy and his mind quiet. Marcus pulled onto the highway just after 6, his daughter Emma asleep in the back seat, clutching her stuffed rabbit the way she always did when she was tired. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. He had picked her up late from school again. 3rd time this week. He told himself he'd do better. He always told himself that. The sun was low and orange when he spotted the car on the shoulder. A black luxury sedan with its hazard lights, blinking slow and steady like a tired heartbeat. A woman stood beside it, arms crossed, phone pressed to her ear, the frustration on her face visible even from a distance. Marcus didn't think twice. He slowed down, pulled over, and stepped out. "Flat tire?" he called. She turned. Yes, and apparently roadside assistance has a 45-minute wait. "I can fix it," he said simply. "Got a spare?" She hesitated for just a moment, the way people do when a stranger offers help and they aren't sure whether to feel relieved or cautious. Then she nodded and popped the trunk. He worked quietly, efficiently. She stood a few feet away, still on her call, speaking in the sharp, clipped tone of someone who ran meetings and made decisions. He noticed but didn't interrupt. Emma stirred in the back seat, pressed her face to the glass, and watched her father the way children watch their heroes, unaware they're doing it. 20 minutes later it was done. He stood, wiped his hands on a cloth from his truck, and closed her trunk. "What do I owe you?" she asked, reaching for her purse. "Nothing," he said. "Please, I insist." "It's fine," he said with a small smile. "Safe drive home." He was back in his truck before she could say another word. Emma had fallen asleep again. He pulled into traffic, turned on a low radio station, and didn't think much more about it. The woman stood on the shoulder for a moment longer than she needed to. Something about him had snagged at the edge of her memory, the line of his jaw, the quiet way he moved, the voice. She shook it off. She had a board meeting at 7 in the morning and a company that needed her full attention. She drove away. Her name was Clare Donovan, 36 years old, CEO of a healthcare technology firm she had built from nothing. She had been featured in 3 national magazines, had spoken at conferences in 4 countries, and had not cried in front of another person in longer than she could remember. She was, by most measures, exactly where she had intended to be. And yet on the drive home that evening, she felt a quiet ache she couldn't explain, the kind that doesn't come from exhaustion, but from something older. She didn't know his name. She hadn't asked. But that voice, that calm. 2 days later, at a charity gala for a children's hospital she co-sponsored every year, she saw him across the room. He was standing near the entrance, looking slightly out of place in a suit that fit well, but wore like borrowed armor. He was talking to a little girl beside him, his daughter, clearly, pointing at the fancy dessert display with exaggerated excitement to make her laugh. Claire stopped walking. Marcus. The name arrived before she could stop it. Marcus Reeves. 20 years dissolved in a single breath. She had been 19. He had been 21. They had been 2 people who loved each other at exactly the wrong time, before careers, before distance, before life decided it had other plans. He looked up, saw her, and the glass he was holding nearly slipped from his hand. They stood across a crowded room, and the years between them collapsed like paper. Neither moved for a long moment. Then Emma tugged his sleeve and said, "Daddy, who's that lady?" He looked down at his daughter, then back at Claire. Then something in his chest that had been quietly aching for a very long time finally recognized why. He walked toward her. She didn't move away, and the conversation they began that night lasted until the hall lights dimmed and the staff began stacking chairs, the kind of conversation that doesn't catch up on time, so much as it refuses to waste any more of it. Sometimes the people we're meant to find were never truly lost. They were just waiting for the right moment, and for one quiet act of kindness on the side of a road to find their way back. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness True Stories. where real human moments remind us what truly matters.